Okay, I think we're about 8:04 right now. I think we're gonna go get started. I just hit the record button, so we are recording this meeting. If we need to refer back to it for any reason, or for people that want to see what we talk about, but we're not able to attend, we'll make sure that's available for folks to look at. Again, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Bill Johnson. I was voted as the president for 2026. I was a co-chair with Joan Walker last year, kind of learned the process. Briefly, I just moved to Madison 2 years ago when my son was a freshman. I have two daughters in college, and so he's going to go into his junior year this year. So I plan to be supporting Knight in Hand the next couple years, and kind of try to do my part to support the community. The other members of the committee right now are our treasurer Janice Wolf, who was also the treasurer last year, and then our secretary Lisa Reyna, who I think was a co-chair and I'm sorry, was a chair in past years or co-chair in past years, and back supporting again as a secretary. And then we have about 15 or so total participants today. So I was hoping for more, but we're glad that you guys were able to join us. And also, I see a few names I hadn't seen in the past. So thanks for joining. Thanks for being showing some interest here in Night in Hand. If we did a poor job of getting the word out, please help us so we can maximize participation and make sure we make the right have the right path forward for our graduating senior. Um, Okay. I sent the email out. Hopefully you guys got that. It had a list of essentially what I thought saw as the agenda. One was discussing venues. And I know there's some people that want to shift it back to Night in Hand, so I want to kind of talk over pros and cons of that and see what the kind of thoughts are on that. And then look at the various external venues we have. If we plan to stick with the external venue like we did last year, I don't think we're ready to decide on that, but let's get an idea of what's out there, see what people think, and then focus in on a handful that we want to see if they're available, see what the pricing is, and see what makes sense, and see if they're the right fit for our age group. I want to talk over the volunteer opportunities for everybody. We'll look at the sign up genius that we have and make sure that again it's the volunteers that kind of make this happen. So whatever we can do to get the support we need is critically important to make this a successful thing, not just for the graduating seniors, but for our community as a whole. And then lastly is talk over the storage units that we have, and we'll go into details on that. Any questions, comments before we jump into it?
Bill, it's Chris. Just a quick question, and I apologize I wasn't on the last call. Did you give a summary, or do we have a summary of what came in on the survey that went out? Just
Uh,
high level, general.
sure. So yes, yes. Let me see. Janice, can you call it up while I'm talking here? Do you have access to that? You may not
Um,
have access to it yet.
we did an extensive conversation on it on the last meeting. Christine actually dominated most of the meeting. Um,
Okay, I don't want you to repeat it
I
then. If there's notes somewhere or later on, I just was just curious.
I mean, generally it was favorable. There were some things that we had noted as well, like the kids needed more food, as far as like hot food that was like real food, versus just snacky foods. Um, Needed like a quiet space in the middle of the evening, but we would do it differently going forward and have that kind of ahead of time. I'm just trying to think of some highlights. Overall, it was favorable. I mean, there were kids that wanted, trampolines, but those are not something that we're going to be doing, whether we're in hand or we're out of hand. So, there were some things like that, and some kids that wanted the hypnotist, but they had never seen the hypnotist. So, and then, in years past, we've had a lot of complaints about the hypnotist. So a lot of it was kind of all over the place. I
So
think
yeah,
they had, thought that they were missing out on certain stuff, that other kids that went through it didn't necessarily feel that way about. So,
Yeah.
it was a little bit, overall, it was favorable.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Good. Thank
echo
you.
those
I don't want
comments.
to
Yeah.
take up more time.
Can I just ask a question about that? How many, like, what percentage of the kids who went filled out the survey?
We had 43 responses. There's about 160 kids that went. Of those 43 responses, some were parent responses, some were kid responses. So kind of a mix of that. So they're not a
Okay.
huge representation, but not too bad.
Okay.
And I apologize. I I can't I'm trying to get caught up and I just can't. I will work on that and get screenshots of the survey and share that with everybody so we can you guys can see what we want to be transparent to this as much as possible. So we want to make sure you guys know what we know going forward. So I apologize I didn't come prepared for that tonight. Any other comments or questions before we kind of jump into maybe the pros cons of out of hand in hand? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and see how successful I am with that. Man, I lost that feature. Where'd that
Hey,
go?
Bill, Simon here. Sorry, I
Oh, go
couldn't get
ahead,
off
Simon.
mute quick enough. I missed last time's meeting too, but did you guys go over the cost? I mean, that was actually, looking back,
Yeah, we'll talk
uh,
about that tonight. So I'm
Yeah,
going
so
pros
we're
and
going to talk
cons.
about that more tonight.
cost per student, like,
Yep.
Yep.
that was a big deciding factor.
I put together a side by side
Yeah,
for tonight's meeting of what it cost for the graduating class of 2024 versus what it costs for the graduating class of 2025.
yeah.
So just the most recent night in hand with this night out of hand. I'm assuming, Bill, that's what you're calling up right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna call up a different sheet first, but I'll go to that sheet.
Oh, that's the other one. Okay.
Yep. And thanks for continuing to admit those participants. I appreciate that. Why I kind of go through this.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah.
Thanks.
So
So
do you want me to put the financial one up though?
let me do this first, and
Okay.
then I have the financial one open as well, so I'll call that
You
up
do.
after
Okay,
that.
good.
So I put together, kind of a rough pros and cons. First, let me jump off with what I think the purpose of Night in Hand is, and I think what has historically been the purpose of Night in Hand, and it's to provide a fun, safe, and substance-free evening of celebration for our high school graduates that is supported by the entire Madison community. And I think that's kind of been the theme over the years. And the keywords I think are fun, safe, and substance-free. And I think that's kind of our North Star as we look towards, hey, what are we doing and why are we doing what we're doing? And so I put down the columns here, which again, just me brainstorming here. So it's not a perfect product, but night in hand on the left, night out of hand on the right. And I'll just go read this over. The pros for night in hand, I thought at the school, no transportation required, and we control kind of everything about that. We control what we want in there, what entertainment happens, what fun stuff what kids doing, the timing, everything is completely in our control. Um, I put the pros for night out of hand is that it's less expensive, and you can see some of the pros are the opposite of the cons in the other one. Less expensive, 30,000 versus you can see a con for night in hand was about 60,000, 66,000 the previous year. We think we can get it lower than that, but still it's going to be over what night out of hand was. A lot less volunteers are needed. Really, we had 6 chaperones that night, and that was perfect. And honestly, the venue doesn't require any chaperones. Had about 10 or so folks at the school for checking students in, which is a number we'll need. Um, Volunteers for night in hand is a lot more. And so I've heard, I don't know what the exact number was. I wasn't here for part of that, but I know there's a ton of people that are needed for doing the decorations, security, and whatnot, set up, takedown, etc. And I don't know exactly what the numbers are,
If
but
if we're doing like a full decoration like it was the night of graduation of 2024, that was about 100 volunteers between those doing all the decorating and the night of security and the auction and the food. You're talking because each shift probably had 10 to 15 people at it in the shifts per night all night long.
yeah, and it's probably another thing I probably should have put in here that I didn't. For the shifts for night in hand, we can control that a lot more. Where you can have 1 or 2 or 3 hour shifts sort of thing. For night out of hand, for that one specific night, for the chaperones, the half dozen chaperones that go, they got to be there the whole night. So it's hard to do a shift unless they're driving, at 2 in the morning, an hour and a half, or up to 2 hours depending what menu you choose. So potentially, so the chaperones that went last year went the whole night. And then the other pro I put for night out of hand was there's a lot of variety of activities. Again, we kind of control the activities for night in hand, but there's some stuff we simply can't do at night in hand, such as have a rope course, bumper cards, climbing wall, variety of things like that. I know we brought the similar things that we brought to night in hand, such as a caricaturist or the henna tattooist or a tarot card reader. We were able to bring the night out of hand as well for an extra charge, but we could do that. Cons, I think I went through most of them on the night in hand side. Storage unit is another part of it that there's lots of stuff and gear that we use year after year that we keep in a storage unit or that we think we may use, and so we keep it. And that costs us about $6,000 a year for storage. The con for Night Out of Hand is a transportation. Last year was a 90-minute drive each way. The buses cost money. We spent about $6,000 for the coach buses going both ways. And also we need to book in advance. Last year we waited till October to book, and there were a lot fewer venues to choose from. Fortunately, the venue we did have turned out great. And the one other thing I want to show you before we kind of go into pricing um, is the school population. Can you guys still see me? I think I might be losing you guys. Can someone give me verbal feedback? Can you still hear me?
I can. It's going in and out, Bill.
Okay.
Right. I didn't know if it was mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
I
can
think
hear you if you continue.
okay. I think it's better now. I think I had an unstable internet connection. I think I'm good now. The slide I'm showing right now is the school population for the last 12 or 13 years thereabouts. And this is kind of points to the volunteer picture where we were able to have the 100 plus volunteers years past, but literally the school had 50% more students 10 years ago than they have today. And I think that plays a big role in what the amount of volunteers we can get. So I thought that was a key thing to highlight and why we may be struggling with volunteers where we maybe didn't struggle as much in the past. So with this, I'm going to share one more screen, and I'll let Janice talk to that, which is the funding screen.
Do you have it or do you want me to put it up?
I'm calling it up right now. And Janice,
Okay.
start talking when you're ready.
Okay, so what I did was I put together a side-by-side comparison of Night in Hand from 2024. I did it kind of without decorations because decorations is a huge chunk of the budget. So just to see if like what it would look like if we just did the games and the whatnot. So here and I had to use the numbers that I had available to me. So Night Out of Hand, our auction was super cheap because it was at the VFW, which we probably could do again this year. And then one of the auction folks donated the amount of the auction fee, so of the place. So we didn't have that to pay. Storage units, if we're doing decorations for Night in Hand, that's 57. I mean, it's $570 a month. So it's a static cost and it eats away. Like right now we've hit the under $20,000 mark because $570 just went away again between last meeting and this meeting. So and this will continue to happen every month until we deal with these storage units. I think with Night Out of Hand, we should be able to either eliminate those or reduce them down to one, which would be a lot more of a reasonable thing. I think the only thing we would want to keep in there might be soft things to bring for like a quiet room or something like that to make inside a Night Out of Hand location. The drawstring bags and items were similar as far as cost. I mean, they were about a little less than $1,000 difference. Entertainment was a big difference. So entertainment, because we didn't have to get all the extra stuff. It just cost us a lot less, right? So we had the airbrush tattoos, the caricatures, the tarot card readers, the massage therapists, about $6,000. It cost them 17,000 with the inflatables, tattoos, the magician, caricatures, tarot cards. The hypnotist is really expensive. He's on for an hour. Massage therapist, they had a photo booth. This year, instead of doing a photo booth, we had cameras that the kids could take their pictures with, Insta cameras, and then they could take the picture with them. And we can reuse those cameras next year. Food. So this is the part where there was an ice cream truck at Night in Hand. McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, I didn't spell that right. Chocolate Fountain, Taco Bell, all that stuff had to get paid for. So that was $37.64. None of it can be donated. McDonald's is donate. Chick-fil-A, we've tried. The food, this number's a little bit inaccurate only because I didn't know, I couldn't tell based on the bill how it broke up per student with, I think it was $25 per student that we paid for the extra food, but I wasn't positive on that, so I didn't want to
That's
put that.
correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So, and then we had $183 in extra food. And I will say this, we didn't even get all the food we requested. So like we sent out a sign up genius to the senior class parents and we didn't get everything we wanted. So like in this conversation with like, oh, it's fine to bring it back in house, we didn't even get the food we wanted. We had to go out and buy more food the day of. So that's like some of the frustrating pieces of this that you know have to be, I mean, they're either dealt with or we just don't rely on anybody to do things. Transportation, obviously, if it's night in hand, there's none. Transportation night out of hand was $6,000. That was 3 full buses, an hour and a half away, in the middle of the night. So, the middle of the night thing's not going to change. The 3 full buses things is not going to change. But depending on maybe how far they have to go, that might modify that number. Registration fee, that's registration fee for the place is not the registration fee for the students. It was the same as $100. Was none. Registration fee was $11,175, about $75 per student. And I do want to make a mental just let everyone know there are students that don't pay, they're on scholarship. So that has to be factored into. That's a little less than $1,000 in students that did not pay because they couldn't afford it. But we want everyone to go. So we waive the fee for kids that can't pay. The arcade, so that was it. Bill, if you want to scroll down a little bit. So that arcade fee was added on top. It was separate. Oh, wait. I want to just add it into, like, if you take a look at the entertainment, so it was really arcade plus the entertainment, so it was 17,000 plus that 4,600 was all the stuff to do for the students. Because you have to have things for them to do because they're in an enclosed space for several hours. And we had at the night out of hand, we had the airbrush tattoos, we had the caricatures, we had the tarot card readers, we had the massage therapists, we had the photos, we had the arcade, and much more arcade than was brought to Night in Hand. We had bumper cars, we had rope courses, we had a climbing wall, we had like those games where you have like the big puffy things and you can whack each other with them. And that was all included in that $75 per student. And laser tag. So, okay, door prizes. So Night in Hand, they did $5,400 in door prizes. So that was spinning the wheel and choosing a kid's name. Some kids won AirPods, some kids won computer, some kids won, what's that bag tossing game that you do in the backyard? We eliminated that because we didn't have the budget. So we didn't do any of those big door prizes. Police department costs $319. You have to have police there. You have to pay for the custodians if you're Night in Hand. Obviously, these are all things that we didn't have to do for Night out of hand. 600. Fire department's another almost 500. They have to go through and check everything. Cleanup, we had to rent a dumpster and get a U-Haul. So if there's stuff that needs to be brought back and forth from the storage unit, that's about $700. So that equaled about $46,000 in change, versus about $30,000. And the cleanup was nothing, right? We walked out of that building at 4 o'clock in the morning and that was it. We didn't need a bunch. I mean, you need like 50 to 60 volunteers the next day just to clean up, which we absolutely did not have in 2024. And that was a very, very, very long day of cleanup. If we were to add decorations back in, lights and decor, $11,794 was spent. This we had to buy extra storage units in order to paint items and make things. And then with that storage unit came insurance and you had to pay utilities. So that was an extra $1,200 for just insurance and utilities. So that grand total wound up being $62,700. So that's the side by side. And I do think there is room in the Night in Hand side. Like if you eliminated completely decorations, that takes out a lot of money. I can't do that math that fast. I'm not a math person. But and then maybe we don't need a dumpster or a U-Haul, so that can eliminate some of that. Eliminate the door prizes. That's a big chunk off of there. And you're gonna have to eat into into the entertainment budget because that there's no room for $20,000 in entertainment. There's just the money isn't there. The auction typically makes on a high year $14,000. So, and if you're charging $100 per student, assuming we had exactly the same amount of students that we had last year come again this year, but it's a smaller class, so it's hard to say that. You're talking about, I think we had 158 students or 148 students. I think was it like 100? Oh, that showed up, but then more kids paid. So it was like 160, Bill, you're right. So, but then you've got to account for your scholarship students. So that's another place of income. And then the third form of income is business donations and private donations from senior parents, which make up another couple $1,000s. And it depends on the parents. That last year's senior class had a very generous donation of, $2,500 from one parent. That is not happening every year. I can tell you that for absolute certainty. So that was like a big donation. But that kind of donation is not available
Okay, thanks, Janice, for that financial thing. I went over the pros and cons. I kind of want to open this up to discussion and see what people think, where they're leaning, one way or the other, questions they have. I just want to get the sense of the 20 or so people that are part of this discussion.
So Janice, I was trying to do the math quick, but so what's the total income? So how much between the auction, the fee you charge the kids minus the ones that are on scholarship, and then typical
every year.
donations. Like
Which year are you talking about, Simon?
I I guess what's our average? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the average over I have stuff for the last 10 years. All I've been doing is looking in the last 2 years.
I mean,
Um,
I guess
don't
the key question is, all right, so how much money do you have to play with this year?
Right now in our bank account we have $19,000.
No,
So
understood.
yeah,
So, but
e-
like,
everything has
what
everything
should
has
your
to get
budget be?
made. Everything has to get made. So the senior auction, took in $12,000 this year, 12,004.
And
But
then,
that's an unknown number until it is.
yeah, and so I think, Simon, to answer your question, I think we expect around 12,000 plus or minus for the auction. It could be up to 14, could be down to 10, as long as we have the great auction folks we had last year, something that runs like that, it should do around 12. We expect to get around $15,000 in for the students' fees, $100 a student. So that brings up to 27,000, which is close to what we spent. And then kind of donations, whether it's parent
Yeah.
donations. We make a little bit of profit off, but not much off of lawn signs, and any other sort of fundraisers that we do. But
Yeah.
really, we expect to take in about $30,000 plus or minus. Does that sound about right, Janice?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like this year, senior parent donations were 5,200, business donations were 4,000. But this year, senior donations, we had like two parents that went out and like killed it on senior donations. So, we have to have the volunteers to go out and pound the pavement and get that done.
Yeah, so maybe it's closer to 35 to $38,000. We think we can bring in again. The event last year cost us 29,000, almost $30,000, and then we are spending close to $7,000 a year in the
The
storage
storage.
units,
Yeah.
and then a few other incidentals here and
And
there.
there's other incidentals for taxes and stuff like
And so if we choose to do night in hand again, we'll have to do something. We have to raise more money somehow, or we'll have to cut down a lot of stuff, which I think will make it potentially less fun for the kids. And I think if you look in the past when we had a school of 1,200 students, charging $100 a person, you're taking in, instead of $15,000, you're taking in $20,000 or 21 or $22,000 from the fees alone from the students. So you have more money to play with. You have more parents that may donate it. Now we just a smaller population. We just don't have the
that.
budget that we
Yeah.
had in the past.
And for the last night in hand, they started that year with over $40,000 in the bank account. When we started, we had 20.
Yeah, and I think if you look before them, it was probably less. But I feel like we spent a lot that year with
Yeah.
all the things. The most recent 2 years ago, I guess.
Simon, does that answer
But
your
I think it
question?
was less.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get a sense of,
Yeah.
From a budgetary standpoint, where we should try to come into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the problem, I don't think it's feasible to do what was done for class of 2024. I mean, we'd have to raise $60,000 in about 5 months. I don't think that's, I mean, unless somebody's got some amazing plan. I'm not a professional fundraiser. But I think that it can be done in hand. I'm a little bit concerned that there's not a ton of people on this call, because this, went out and we've been talking about this, and it, so that concerns me because we still need an auction committee. We would need people to do food. Like we need people to do a lot of work, to bring it in-house. And I'm concerned about that.
And that's what I was, waiting for the money talk to stop. I think in just this past year that I've been working with you guys, I really see it's not just the money, it's the hands, it's the people. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think, oh, it's just that night, but there's so much to be done to get to that night, raising
sure.
money. And especially if we, the decorations, I mean, just, the amount
Yeah.
of work that was done. I think that's a no brainer. If we ever was brought back
Yeah.
in, there's no way we can do that financially or, just not having enough people.
Yeah, and I was hoping, like, if there were 100 people on this call, this would
Mhm.
I would feel differently
Yeah.
about this, and I'd be like, okay, maybe we can do this. Like, maybe we can split up in groups and we can get this done.
Mhm.
But there's less than 20 people here.
Yeah. We didn't have more than that all last year on every
Yeah,
call.
all last year on any
Yeah.
call, not more than
Yeah.
20 people.
Can
Yeah.
you guys put the pros and cons slide back up, please?
Yep, I will do so. 1 second,
Thanks.
please.
Yeah, I feel like this is actually a good number. Like, I feel like we've never gotten that many, to be quite honest. People who are actually on doing things and whatnot.
Okay, hopefully you can see it.
It's not up yet. What, Bill? It just keeps.
It's
Oh, there
just
it goes.
running.
Okay.
Okay. So I have a rising senior, and then I also had two seniors last time it was in hand at 2024. So I have a couple to add to this, I would say. I think I basically having it out and so far away last year cut me out as a volunteer for being at the event because I have a kids at home that I couldn't leave. So I think you're going to lose from having it out of hand, continuing to do that. I think you're going to lose parents because also it was really confusing from a volunteer perspective for the food. I didn't really get like how I was supposed to volunteer. Like I got a lot of food donations the years my boys were in hand. I didn't really understand that when it was out of hand. So I think it's a little confusing to parents. That's the first thing. But I also think you're going to lose parent volunteers who can't leave their kids alone at night. Not everybody has, another parent at home necessarily to watch the kids. And I think sort of a consequence of that will be that you won't have parents who see what it could be for their kids that are rising. So as years go by, you're going to be stuck with less and less volunteers because people aren't seeing you need less, essentially. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I think the biggest kind of con of sticking with night out of hand is your guiding principle, Bill, that you talked about at the beginning.
Yep.
I think there were a bunch of kids who didn't go last year. And I mean, to be quite honest, that's why I asked how many people answered the survey. My daughter's friends who were seniors did not have good feedback. And I think based on that alone, you're going to have more and more kids who don't go, which will basically defeat the purpose of having this in the first place. So even if it's so much cheaper, you're going to lose the whole safety element, because for all the kids that don't go, then we have to be worried about kind of what they're doing. Whereas I think when it was in hand, we pretty much had close to 100% participation every year, because it was just something they look forward to and it's easy. And then I'll stop talking 1 minute. I only have one other thing to say. I think the feedback that I had, a lot of the feedback from volunteers in years when it was in hand, is that the decorations were a lot, and it was onus on the parents. And that's why it was hard, because the Disney one was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. But I mean, the amount of work that went into even like building Rapunzel's tower, I think if we brought it back in hand, we would really need to scale that back. And I think it would be a lot easier to get. I think volunteers got scared, to be honest, after looking at that, like thinking, how on earth am I building something like this for the kids? So I think if we, went to a simpler theme or less decorations or something like that, not only would that save money, but I think it would not be as scary to people to volunteer.
Yeah, and I think, so I was just chaperone that in 24, right? And I honestly don't, I think if you're going to bring it back, right, there needs to be a hard kind of analysis of what really matters and what the kids really appreciate versus, the things that seemed like a lot of work for maybe not a lot of return, and just be kind of, really pragmatic about it. I mean, if I recall correctly, the most popular thing was like bingo, right? I mean, it was absolutely packed, right? Bingo was packed, and yeah, they really liked the Wheel of Fortune thing, right? The door prizes, right? There were certain things that you could see the kids were really excited about. The arcade stuff. I mean, I chaperoned and I was in the arcade. I mean, I think I played more of the arcade games than any of the actual kids, right? There was like one basketball game they played, and nobody touched Pac-Man or some of the other stuff. Like there was some vintage stuff in there that maybe appealed to me, but to a 17-year-old, they're like, what's this ancient thing, right? So, for the amount of money that was spent on it, you might argue that that's, $5,000 that you could spend somewhere else, right? So I think if you look really hard at in hand, but try to focus on the things based on kind of our observations, because I think looking at the crowd here, like there's a bunch of us that have had kids go through it in years past, and I think we know what the kids really, really cherish and like, and then there's other stuff that they could honestly. I don't know that a lot of them reacted or really cared whether there was a tower of whatever it was. Right? I don't even remember where it was, to be honest, and that's really sad to say, because I'm sure people put in a ton of work putting that together and building it and getting it there, right, and storing it and all that sort of stuff, and the impact of it may or may not have been really worth the effort, right? So just some thoughts.
And I was going to say, I don't have kids who have been through it, but I have a niece and a nephew, and that's how I got involved. And the feedback I've heard just over the past weeks from some of their friends that went this year versus those that went last year were right in line with what you said, that they didn't mind, they didn't mind where they went. They thought the bus ride there wasn't bad, but they felt like after 2 to 3 hours, they were kind of like, okay, I've had enough. I think we've already talked about food. They were very disappointed in that. And they said just the idea of having, they loved the bus ride going up. They were all hyped up, ready, but to have to get back on that bus and come home, an hour or more later, that was a big con for them. And I had the same thoughts you did, is if we could do it back in, how do we, like you say perfectly, how do we pair it back to what it gives them the most value? And the feedback I asked them was, well, what if we didn't do a theme and all the decorations? So like, well, that was kind of cool, but like after the first 5 minutes, they were off doing their thing and they didn't care about it. Um, and the same thing, bingo was a big one. The DJ, the karaoke, just partying with their friends, was seemed much more important than all those themes and decorations and everything. But one more thing I want to say, and again, not having children in the school system, how do we get parents to hear these messages? I'm not on emails other than Phil's. I don't go to PTO and all that. What, where are we missing the mark? And just, how do we hammer this into parents from that volunteer perspective?
Um,
So I'll add a couple things there because I think that's a really important piece. I think Bill is going to have a great opportunity on back to school night to really hammer home what Night in Hand is. So my stepson graduated last year. I have a rising senior this year, and I have a rising sophomore. And I will tell you, the first year we moved here, I never heard anything about Night in Hand. So I think it's really just getting and Lisa and I talked about this earlier. It's always the same 20 people that do everything. Lisa and I did soccer together. There wasn't, there's Tina and I did soccer. There's 900 kids that play soccer, and it's the same 15 people that run soccer. So I think we just have to accept that it's always going to be the same group of people, and that's okay. But like when we did it in hand, I did the volunteers with Lisa for security. We were sending people home. There was too many people. They back 5 years and asked that class what their theme of Night in Hand was. They're not going to remember. I mean, that 9-foot Jabba Hut was really cool, but you give these kids some balloons and then have door prizes. It's their graduation. That is the theme of the night. It is graduation.
I just want to add a couple. I also have a rising senior, and my son graduated 2 years ago. So obviously, Night in Hand is a big deal for these kids. They absolutely love it, and it's something they look forward to every year. All of the feedback I got about Night Out of Hand was negative. My daughter's boyfriend graduated last year, and he did not love it. But my biggest thing is I didn't even know this meeting was happening until Tina sent me a message. So I don't know if I'm missing something entirely on the communication here, but I do think there are many avenues to take to really broadcast this more. I mean, a simple like text chain to friends to friends to friends is like one way to sort of get the word out. But is there a Facebook group, an Instagram page? Like, how do we get this? Because I know so many people who would want to be a part of, but I didn't even know this was happening. So I just think there's definitely something with the communication. I think as parents, all of us want to have our kids have the most amazing year. And this is just an amazing thing for them to do inside of hand. No one wants to leave Mel, and then I have to worry about what she's doing that night. So to Happy's point, you're going to lose the whole point of what this started to be. And I just think that the decorations and all of that are definitely something to kind of shy away from and focus on what the kids really care about, which is probably the least expensive part of all of this. That's all.
Hey, thanks, Felicia. Just to let you know, we do have a Night in Hand Facebook page. This meeting's been posted on that for the last couple weeks, and then similarly, we posted on the Class of 28, Class of 29. I'm sorry, Class of 26, Class of 27, Class of 28 Facebook page as well. There's no Class of 29 Facebook page yet. And if there's better ways to get the word out, please let us know. But we're trying.
and Bill, I also did an Instagram too.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. And I emailed it at least to 70, maybe it's 80 people.
We have an Instagram because I ran that one here. Yeah.
Thanks, Lisa. And then the people that signed up in the Sign Up Genius for the last couple of years, I emailed everybody on that list as well. So that's 80 or so people. So I try to get the word out. I apologize you didn't get that, Felicia. Other thoughts,
I wasn't attacking you on the communication part. I was just wondering like how I was missing this because I'm pretty active on Facebook. I just haven't seen it. So I will definitely follow and share. Is it the same page that's used year after year, or do you make a new one each time?
The same
There has
page.
been some made, just
Okay.
so we're gonna have to send out, Bill, the most current one because in the past there has been multiple made. So that got confusing because people were just going into the same one. but we'll just make sure that we send out the Instagram and the Facebook, the correct ones.
Yeah, I was only asking so that I can kind of be a part of and not miss any of these, but also be able to say that's
I
all I was
know
asking
it's
for.
sometimes difficult, but is there any way we can get some of this information, you know, meeting times or links, anything onto like the school
Well, so
website? They're like
yeah,
vehemently
so
opposed.
I know. So they do have an area on the Daniel. Can you on the? Sorry about my birds, guys. They do have an area there, and I can show everyone. I can do screenshots when we send out the links of how to get to that Night in Hand communication. So we have that link, and it is on the Daniel Hand thing. The only thing they won't give us, the school, is names. Like, so we can't get contact information and emails from the school. They won't give
Okay,
that
but
to
you
us.
can have
So
a standing link at the.
we have a standing link. So anything we post, so maybe it's just simply Bill, like updating that, getting that link, making sure it's working. And so those are the main communications: is Facebook, Instagram, and the DHHS site for Night in Hand.
Yeah,
Is
and
the
I'll talk.
school willing to like send messages on your behalf? I'm just thinking like there's I know so many senior parents who are involved in like sports boosters that if like the school sent the each sports team booster or clubs, or you know what I mean, the leaders of the clubs, and had them sort of send it out to their people, that might be a way to keep the message going to new people that haven't received it
No,
before.
that's a really good point. I appreciate that. Um, I the other ways we do it, we're at the PTO meetings each month. Tina sees the Night in Hand rep there. We get on Backpack, I think it's called, as well as we work with TJ, Principal Salvatore, to get emails out during the school year. I don't think much comes out in the summertime, which I think made this a little bit harder. But I'll talk to Principal Salvatore about other thoughts he has and how we can get the word out a little better as well. But I like that using the boosters as well. It's a good idea. Um, Shifting though back, I got the survey here. I'm sharing the page here. Can you guys see the survey response?
Sorry, Bill. I just wanted to
Oh, go ahead, Tina.
interject a little bit. I think it's also important to note that because of last year's night out of hand, there was more of a need to start this whole process earlier in the year. So this meeting didn't necessarily happen before the back to school last year. So historically, you would have given the presentation at open house and you would have been fielding, prospective volunteers there. And so we didn't have that this year. So,
Yeah,
we're missing a bunch of people because of that.
that's a really good point. And to hit home on what Tina's saying, part of the reason we're having this early is if we're going to do an outside venue, the sooner we lock in that venue, the better, because other schools are already locking in, and we don't want to miss our first choice venue if we don't have to. And last year we waited to October to kind of lock it in, and we still got a great venue at Extreme Play Danbury, but perhaps there's better ones out there that people would have preferred. So that's why we're having this earlier. So thanks, Tina. It's a good point.
It was presented at the back to school night last year. That's when I signed up, was at back to school night. It was presented by I think the previous year's chairs or something like that, and TJ. And they had a sign up list at that point, which was very sparse. And even among the people who signed up that night, a lot of those people didn't follow up. And like even after they emailed them, they kind of dropped out. And TJ did include it on his like Friday emails or whatever links. And I saw it a ton on Facebook. Maybe I'm just in different groups, but it was out there. It's just I think there's just a lot of noise. There's like a lot of stuff going on, and so.
And Bill, I'm happy to share. After you share, I can share real quick. It's literally 2 clicks in the Daniel Hand High School page to get to the Night in Hand update.
Yeah, why don't you do that right now since that's kind of the topic we're on. I'll stop sharing
Oh.
this and let you share your screen there.
Sure.
And while we're waiting for Lisa to do
Okay.
this, I do want to point out that
Sure.
if you hadn't heard me say this
Post
before,
disabled.
in the chat, is a Sign Up Genius link as well as a venue option Excel spreadsheet that I put in there for potential out of hand venues. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that.
Bill, can you enable sharing?
Yeah,
It's
sorry about
saying
that.
the host has to enable it. That's okay.
Uh,
I'm sorry, I don't see anything in the chat.
okay, I'll resend it. Thanks for letting me know that. You should have the ability, but maybe I'm not doing this right here. I apologize. Any joy, Lisa? Who can share? I have it listed as all participants can share, so it should be able to work. And I'll resend those links that I sent before.
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, now I can. Sorry. There we go. Can everyone see it?
It's starting, it says. Oh, there it goes.
Okay, so it's up at the parent. So when you go into basically, it's the general info page, is where you land when you first go into it. It's under the parents tab, okay, and then Nite in hand. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Okay, so that's it. It's really simple. So it's just there, and then that's where the updates are posted. You can see, so we give updates. So maybe this is also where we should, because this, they would update in real time. I feel like Facebook and Instagram didn't get as much traction, although, and you had to start like a week early to start posting things because people were missing them. But this at least is a way where you can see,
I just wanted to add really quickly, thank you for sharing that because I mean, how many people are going onto the website on a day-to-day basis to see this? So I think it's really important to let people know that it's there, but the question is how to let people know that it's there because I've never clicked on this ever. So I don't really go to the website that often.
In the e-notify, it used to be an e-notify archive. I don't know if she did that last year, to be honest, but we can ask. I know it's the person in the office or someone I work with.
Yeah, I just think that if we really try maybe different ways, and I can also think of different ways to get the word out there, I do know that a lot of people would volunteer because a lot of people want to see this happen.
Yeah,
That's all I was
Felicia,
trying to
I
say.
hear you. I hear you. But that was not the case in 2024. We did not get the volunteers we needed for 2024, and I think they did a good job getting the word out. And I acknowledge we could have done better for this meeting tonight. 100% agree with you. But we're not we're not getting the volunteers. It's simply the way it was. And
No,
tell me who
I'm
worked in
not
24?
attacking you
Simon,
whatsoever.
tell me.
I'm not attacking you whatsoever. I'm just saying from the people I don't know about past years. I'm talking
Yep.
about the 2026 class and people that I know that I think would be willing to volunteer in just a matter of showing them like, hey, this is what we need from you. This is where you sign up. This is the Facebook page to join. This
Sounds
is
good.
that. I don't know what happened in years past, and I get that. And I was not trying to attack you on that. I was just saying like I would love to share this information with more people because I do know that more people would like to help in this
Felicia,
class.
thank you very much. And I apologize if I came off emotional there. I'm sorry. You were not, I didn't feel you were attacking me. I think you're attacking, or you're saying that we're not communicating as well as we should. And I'm with you in that. Katie, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say, in terms of communication, Felicia, it might be as simple as a lot of the communication for Night in Hand goes to the senior class and the senior class parents and not necessarily the whole school community. And that's something we can certainly work on, and ask TJ that when he sends the emails that they go to freshmen through senior class so that we can work on diversifying the amount of volunteers because honestly, it shouldn't be senior parents. I was there overnight for my senior because we didn't have enough volunteers. But honestly, in years past and all the years I volunteered, it has been not for the graduating class. It has been for, it usually is the underclassmen parents that pitch in to help out. And that was not even possible this year with 12 that we needed. And we didn't even get that. So, certainly there are opportunities to make communication better, but I don't think that was the issue alone. Because there are several avenues for communication between social media, Backpack Express, word of mouth, and the high school in general. So I just don't. It's been a nightmare in the past. I would say 4 or 5 years getting the people that we needed just to make the event happen, whether it's in or out of hand. I it's hard to say that it's just communication.
Yeah, and to that point, like the senior parents are notified the most. We had maybe 5 senior parents help us out last year.
But again, it was really far away.
I'm not talking about the
I
happy. I'm not talking about the night of. I'm talking about at all.
Okay.
Auctions, seeking out donations. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff to do.
Yeah,
And
I hear you. I
so
volunteered the 2024, and I mean, I think we just heard they were I mean, I know I was in the kitchen for most of the night in 2024, and we also were sending people home. So I do think and I know there's a lot to do, but I think again, if we pare down some of it, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And then we need so many volunteers because we needed so much setup takedown. If some of that gets peeled away, the people that volunteer then can do some of the other things.
that's true. I mean, if there's no decorations, then the setup and the takedown are a completely different thing.
Right. And so
than they've
yeah.
been in the past. But we still need to do all the security. Like we didn't have to do all the door guarding, and that kind of stuff is
Door
still gonna have to
guarding.
happen.
I think the door guarding, just running the events, supervising the different rooms, none of that had to happen this past year because we had staff from the venue that was able to supervise, clean up, do all of that stuff, and guard the doors and all of that. So it regardless of whether you're still going to need 50 to 60 volunteers at a minimum. And that's regardless of decoration. It just changes things. Never mind the staff that you're going to hire to have the venue.
Agreed on all of that, but I think so. Volunteers is definitely an issue. It was an issue when it was in, it was an issue when it was out, both ways. But I think the most basic thing is, are the kids going to go? Because you can have all the volunteers you want, but if half the class doesn't go, then we've kind of missed the mark.
But half the class did go, and I can tell you, Happy, from having been there and having been in hand, we had no kids except for one who was legitimately ill, asked to go home. The kids were so busy the entire night that we had to go around and tell them, we are loading the bus. It is time to grab your breakfast and go. In all of my years, and I volunteered since my oldest, who's now 23, and I started volunteering when he was in 8th grade, I had more problems with students who were in Madison wanting to go home because they were bored or tired, etc. And the issues that we had from police and how do we get them home, and is it safe to let them go in their own car? Do we have their parents come pick them up at 3 a.m.? None of that was an issue this year. Not one time, except for one child who was legitimately ill, whose parent, we had no issues with phones. Kids were busy the entire time. So I appreciate that there is feedback. But as someone who was there, I did not hear any of that. I heard kids being so grateful. I saw kids literally sleep the entire ride home because they were exhausted from being so busy all night. I did not experience any of that. And I think we had at least 90% participation. I honestly, we had kids able to sign up that night, which you're not able to do for night in hand.
Well, I will say that might be true, but what happened was all those kids went home and told the juniors that it was not good. So now the juniors, the rising seniors don't want to do that.
You,
So
But they have
hear that?
nothing to compare it to, Happy. They didn't
but
do the
I'm
night the
not
year
going to make
before.
my daughter go if she doesn't
No,
want to
you
go.
shouldn't.
But that's
Absolutely, you
again, so
shouldn't.
I'm just going to go back to Bill's like guiding, star. We're trying to do something that these kids want to do, and the feedback I've heard overwhelmingly is that they don't want to go
So
away.
take a look at the survey we have here and talk it over. So we're hearing anecdotal feedback. And so
Mhm.
Katie was there, I was there. We saw things firsthand. We're getting anecdotal feedback from some families. We have a survey which tries to make it less anecdotal. I'll tell you the anecdotal feedback I got from TJ Salvatore was extremely positive. But here's the survey that we have here. So again, 43 responses, so about a quarter of the class, maybe. We're not sure how many of these parents and students overlap. But that's the what we have here. Gender breakdown, mostly a little more women than men responded. Um, the timing of the event basically is a score of 1 to 5. Hey, what did they think of the timing? Five being the best, one being the worst. Kind of a mixed sort of thing, but it's kind of similar to the timing we'd have for Night in Hand. The main complaint from this in the written response is that they wanted to start later. It seemed to go too quick from graduation night to hopping on the bus. They'd prefer a little more time between those two because some people didn't have a chance to eat. So we can make those changes for next year if we keep it out of hand.
So I'm sorry, Bill, as it was, the event started at 11, correct?
We had the students meet could be misremembering, had the students meet at the school at 9, buses left at 9:30, hour and a half bus ride to start at 11 o'clock at the Extreme Play in Danbury.
Right. So I'm just thinking if the event is so far away, it may be hard to extend that time between also.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So
Well,
that's something we
I mean,
gotta
and
think
that's
about.
something we can discuss because I don't like they had 5 hours and we were there till 4 a.m. And I don't know, like that could be cut down. Like we could get there at midnight and we could do midnight to 4.
Yeah, just work with the
Um,
venue on that. And then
yeah,
maybe
just
it's a
work
venue
with
that's
the venue
closer
on
as
it.
well. That's an hour
And
away
it
instead of hour
might
and a
have
half.
just been too long. And I mean, it's always like that with Night in Hand. The kids, by the time 3:30 rolls around, they want to leave and they have to stay till 5. I think it's 5:30 or 5 o'clock.
And that could always
Um,
be negotiated as well. That's not like a hard rule that we need to stick with as well.
Well, I mean, do you want kids leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning? I mean, there was a car accident. This night out of hand, the kids drove themselves, even though we had asked parents to drive the kids, and there was a car accident right in front of us. So, I mean, the kids are tired, right? So, do we want to be, just turning them loose at 4 o'clock in the morning? I don't know. I mean, that's a discussion for a different day. But as far as the night out of hand, that time, depending on the venue we choose, and where we were, they were very, very flexible. So we could pick any time we want. And that would be the time.
And I also just wanted to point out that because we did go out of hand last year, I think because of that, people that have previously helped or heard about it, they now have opinions because they want things changed. So that's like, okay, wait, we don't want this to happen. Maybe they didn't volunteer last year because they didn't know or they're not used to volunteering or for whatever reason. And then they're like, you know what? I want it back at hand. I'm fully committed. I want to help. So I think that there's some of that as well. I know that a lot of people that I reached out to want to help, and because they were contacted too late, they're like, let me know how I can help. I don't think that, I mean, I think Kelly said that they had to turn volunteers away in 2024. I'm feeling confident that the night of, we can get the volunteers that we'll need. If we get rid of the decorations, I think that there'll be far less.
Tina, let me keep going through the survey here, okay? But I think we talked about a lot of that stuff already. But let's keep going through the survey and kind of see what the people said. So
I mean, I
transportation.
feel like we've seen the survey.
Well, some people asked about it that hadn't seen it before.
Oh, I thought it was just Christine that had said that she was okay. Sorry.
So I'm just gonna go quick here because we talked anecdotally about people not liking it, and I want to show that that's not maybe a clear picture of the events. That's why I'm
Well, I
showing
mean,
it.
only 30
Tina,
kids
please,
actually
please,
did the survey.
So
let me just
it's
go over this, please.
120 kids who didn't fill out the survey. Statistically, it's not really like the
Oh my
sample
goodness.
doesn't count.
But then you're saying you hear from people that it sucked. Did you hear from 120 kids? This is
I'm not
it's
telling,
just better than nothing.
I'm not trying to insult anyone on this. Like, I appreciate all the hard work you guys did. I understand how difficult it is to pull this off. What I will say is you're hearing overwhelmingly from the people that joined that they would prefer to consider bringing it back in. And it's the few people on the committee who keep saying we need to pick other venues.
Happy, I appreciate this. I appreciate what you're saying. Tina, I appreciate what you're saying. I think it's good to look at this open-mindedly. Tina, to be honest and frank, I think you try to rally some people to come to this meeting to try to go back in hand. I'm okay with that. Let's look at this holistically and make the right decision for our kids. Again, fun, safe, substance-free. How do we do that? Financially smart as well as that they want to go to.
I'm
So I'm going to go through
100%
the
on
survey.
board. Our kids. This is our kids.
Exactly. So I'm going to go through this survey here. So transportation wise, about 80% were satisfied or very satisfied. About 7% were unsatisfied or very unsatisfied. So overall, pretty positive on the transportation, I think. How would you rate the venue overall? Looks like about 3.2. Again, 30 about 40% was very satisfied. It was 4 or 5. About 27% was on the 1 or 2 side, and 30% in the middle. So kind of a mixed bag. I don't know what the results were from Night in Hand if we did surveys before, but overall I think this is not bad, considering it costs about half the price, or did cost half the price the previous year. What activities you participate in? It's just kind of a list of activities. I don't think this provides too much information, but what they, most people participated in most things that were there. How'd you rate the food and drinks options? I think the I didn't like it was 12%. Like the food and drinks was 27%, and loved it was whatever the number that is, 6%. So overall, it's pretty positive, but I think that we can definitely do better based on discussions that we had, based on observations. But overall, more positive than negative here. Favorite part of the night? It's kind of hard to say. It's across the whole board there. Although some people put down leaving as their favorite part of the night. And then kind of some word responses here. Is there anything you didn't enjoy about it? So I'm going to go through this relatively quick so we can see what the feedback was here. Some people, I don't have to get there. The hot food could have been better. Reassess the food. The food was not good. Very basic. Too much time at the venue, could have been an hour shorter. Nothing. Take away the phones, made it fun, but not necessary. Start later, a closer venue. Photo booth didn't work. No trampolines. Several comments you'll see about not wanting trampolines. They wanted the war thing to be better. Thought it was too long. No place to sit down. The other thing we talked about, we need to have a quiet room. We didn't have a quiet room, at least not at the beginning. We think we need to do that in the future. This person talked negatively. Said his son said it was a waste of a night. It didn't enjoy everything. The night was terrible. Too many flashing lights, too loud, and we talked about that. There were some things I think we do to make it quieter in certain areas. I don't think the venue was worth the 2-hour drive. Activities got very repetitive after a couple hours. Found ourselves with not a lot to do. Dropping off a trampoline park would have been better. I don't know if there's something we could improve, but I felt like a lot of the games were shut down or weren't working properly. The bowling thing didn't work as well as it should, but most things were pretty decent, I think. There's a movie thing that didn't work as well. I think that it should be in hand for future years. More food options, raffle items, and a hypnotist is what this person wanted. Better food. Venue did not have enough things to do, so the night became boring after a few hours. Nobody's managed it. They had the laser tag station, but the kids got a little wild there. We had to calm them down a little bit. Better food, loud music, no quiet rooms, which we need to work on. Too far away. Okay. And what we want to do for future Night in Hand events. I don't know. I never experienced Night in Hand. I think the first night out of hand was a great success. Can we bring it back to in hand? Keep going to the same place and don't change it. Choose a place with trampolines. We didn't have time to eat after graduation, so starting later. Bring it back in hand at a smaller scale. Don't have a place an hour and a half away. Do it in hand, more food, hypnotist. adjusted times, a larger venue if possible, trampolines. Okay. So that's the real gist of it. Again, a mixed bag of results, but that's kind of what we're getting for the 43 people that chose to respond, parents and kids. So I'd like to open up to people that haven't spoken yet. So we're over an hour here. I apologize. It's definitely longer than I want it to be. But people that haven't spoke, I think I'm hearing from maybe a loud minority. What's a quiet majority out there that other people that want to have some thoughts on this? Okay, I'm hearing nothing.
I know I spoke already, but can I just say
Yeah,
one
go
thing
ahead.
and then I so I feel like you feel like we're personally attacking you, and it got hostile at points when hold on, with us as parents, and who cares where we came from, whether Tina told us let us know that the meeting
I
was
hear you.
happening, whether we're listening from our kids. Hold on, just let me talk for a second. We're here because we want to do what's best for our kids. And I know that a lot of the committee is saying, like, let's keep it out of hand because it's cheaper and it's easier. But we're trying to do what's best for our graduating kids. And what I started with my communication remark was not a dig towards Night at Hand in the committee and how they communicate. My thought was, how do we make this bigger? How do we get out to more people? And you guys automatically like, no, no one's going to volunteer. I get it. I'm the booster mom for soccer, and just getting people to answer my emails is like pulling teeth. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is the class of 2026, there's some really dedicated, good parents in there. And I feel like if we get the word out to them, get more and more people to join these meetings and do the footwork to make this successful in hand, it's what the kids want. That's all I was trying to say. So the hostility is kind of putting me off because I'm just trying to be helpful and I feel like I'm being attacked, and that is not okay. So my point is that I have a senior, I know many of her friends, and I know what these kids want. And I know what you guys put into this, and it's so impressive. And I know the time, and I know that it's hard to get volunteers. I'm just here to say, okay, how do we make this a success for 2026? That's all.
Thanks, Felicia. And I apologize if it seemed like I was attacking you. That was not my intention. I apologize for that. Anybody else?
Bill, this is Mike Phelan. My daughter's a senior this year, and she's expressed interest in doing it, in the school. I heard some feedback from some kids after last year's event, which didn't really occur to me. But I thought it was interesting nonetheless that some said, they were disappointed of it not being in the school because they felt, I don't say an attachment proponent to it, but it's like kind of cool. It's like your last night in the school. So I mean, I think you're going to struggle with having 100% of the kids. I mean, you're asking to keep kids entertained like all night, and that's tough. I remember I was a 2000 graduate and I went to Night in Hand and they did an incredible job. But for me, I was kind of cooked after 2 o'clock in the morning and ready to go home. But that's me. And I'm sure you'll get some that'll go all night and some will get cooked. But I think I guess what I'm trying to say is that feedback I heard about someone saying, it was really cool. We kind of thought like being the last night in our school, there was like a sentimental value there or something that maybe you don't get out of hand. But I thought that was important feedback, to bring to the group that maybe some people feel that way. It's kind of like, the days of having your prom in the gym, maybe that seems lowbrow, but to some, they may say, well, that's my school. And there's a sentimental attachment there.
Hey, thanks,
So,
Mike. Other thoughts?
So can I make a suggestion? I mean, I have a rising senior, and I participated this past year. I only had so much bandwidth to do so much, but I think that's obviously the case for everyone. But I think if we want to try to commit to doing it in hand, then we need people to commit to certain volunteer things. So there was a lot of fundraising things that had happened in the past that we didn't have the bodies to do this year. So, and we had a communications chair last year, but if someone, that's their forte and they can do a better job on that, we need someone to commit to being the communications chair. So I don't know if we want to make a deadline. Can we get everyone to drum up the volunteers by a certain date to be able to make this happen? Because even if we cut out all the decorations, it's still, to have all those entertainment things that the kids want and the food and everything, it was still more than what we spent this year. And so we still need more volunteers just to do that fundraising.
For
So
sure, Julie. I think that's a great idea, and that was something that we did talk about, sending out the sign up genius, right? So send it out, and if it can get filled and people can sign up to do the work, then we can talk about what that looks like for Night in Hand without all the decorating and all the that extra kind of big chunk of it, because we absolutely will not have the finances for it. But I mean, to do that, I think we have to see the commitment from folks. And we would need to see it soon because we have to make decisions. But I
Right. So
would,
maybe we have to say that like we have to see commitments by
yeah,
September
like the auction
5th or
committee
something
needs
like
to
that.
commit, and the extra people who are going to do the food need to like people need to commit to these big jobs.
Right. Or people who are going to do either whatever it was, letter writing or business solicitations just for
Yeah,
straight donations and all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah,
We didn't have people to do that this past year. So we
right.
didn't raise as much money. So, I mean, in terms of just, again, and I'm willing to gamble that like, yeah, like if we have it locally, we'll get more volunteers for the night of. I think that's a gamble we can take. It's the commitment of the volunteers to do the fundraising ahead of time and the organizing of it. And if we can get the volunteers, great. I mean, I would love to see it at hand. I just would hate to try and do it at hand and then get to February and be like, we don't have even the money to do it at hand.
For sure.
yeah, and
I
so
can't, I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand. This is Kristen.
go ahead,
Can you hear
Kristen.
me? So, I just thank you all for this. I really appreciate it. I have a rising senior. She's my oldest of four, so I know it's on my mind because, I've got three more coming after that. So this is interesting to me to learn about the whole process. But I do want to kind of echo some of the thoughts about not having known about sort of the planning process. The most I'd heard about it was when we do the back to school meetings, and
I can't. I gotta take this meeting. I'm sorry.
I just happened to see it come across my Facebook yesterday. So I just happened to see it. So I can imagine a lot of people didn't. But I wonder if I'm just listening to what everyone is saying, and if there's a way to kind of put out a rally call to all of the parents of this class and say, here's the deal, we don't know what we're going to do, here are the pros, here are the cons. And not everyone's going to show up, I know that, but at least so people know it's an issue, because I didn't know literally till yesterday. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I thought the same thing. Someone else said it, I was like, what did I miss? um but I didn't know. So if there's a way to kind of do that, I know it's a tricky time of year, it's the summer, but we have to obviously make a decision soon, but try to get it out, let people know, and then, set a deadline for making the decision. Or what was the plan in terms of when a decision was going to be made, or I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in here. And so sounds like we have a pretty mixed opinions here, which is great. Sounds like we haven't gotten enough people reached out to enough to get maybe the enough input to receive to make a decision. So let's plan for the end of August. Our next the plan is do these meetings the last Wednesday of each month. And so the last Wednesday of August is, I don't know what it is, the 27th. It's the exact same Zoom link is set out. Let's get the word out. We'll do the pros and cons. I'll update the pros and cons list based on what I hear tonight. I'll share it with people. They can update so we can get it updated and make sure it's accurate. I think when we talk to that, we need to talk to a couple things. One, the volunteer side. So like Janice said, I'm going to push out the sign up genius. I'm going to update the sign up genius with
Yeah,
people that
sorry,
we
I meant to say that too. I think the sign up genius, it's great to take that, but when you just see it as someone who doesn't know what's going on, it's kind of intimidating,
I hear
because
you.
I'm like, oh, I'll do the auction, but I'm not going to sign up for that. Like, who's going to help me?
I
I
hear
think
you.
if there's, more people, that in isolation, is intimidating. That's all. So,
I hear
maybe
you.
presenting that and getting people to kind of talk together. I don't know, even in person, I feel like the energy is different, but sorry, I'm done.
I'm with you. And so I'll push out the sign up. Katie, 1 second, please. I'll push out the sign up genius and open it up to people to sign up. And that I think gives some indication of the number of volunteers that we have. And so at the 27th of August, we can really see, hey, what volunteers we have and what the interest is, and kind of make a decision at that date. Additionally, I think we need to talk to how we're going to raise the money. Like last year, we raised about $37,000, which covered the $30,000 plus the storage units. Next year, we need to raise a lot more money if we're going to meet this budget that we met, similar to 24 or 23 or 22. At least $45,000, or we're cutting down a lot. And then when we cut down a lot, you take away some of that entertainment, it becomes more and more potentially boring for the students, and or maybe we have to have cheaper things to do that's fun. So we need some brainstorming there as well. Katie, go ahead. I'm sorry. Katie Lotowski.
Okay, sorry, I started typing it in the chat because I was just looking to put the next meeting on my calendar, and I have a rising senior and a rising freshman, and that day happens to be freshman orientation. So possibly we could have someone there representing Night in Hand to let all the freshman parents know about it. Unfortunately, I can't even be there because I have to go to work, but it's the day that the freshman class will be there and their parents to get a tour and get a schedule.
Awesome. So that's
So they
a
can walk
daytime
around the
thing, not going
building.
to conflict with the meeting, but we'll get the word out there. It's
Yeah,
a good
but
point.
yeah, that's at 12 p.m.
Awesome.
That freshman orientation.
Okay.
And thank you for your time and effort, everyone. I appreciate it. I've been going to all the meetings. And yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. I see the pros and cons. And my son, he's just like, I don't care. And I'm like, what do you want? We want to know what the kids want. It's for the kids. Um, but and I graduated in 1996. I still remember the theme of the night. It was Hollywood. And I just remember seeing my name on the Hollywood star, and that was all exciting. And it's like, you know, parents can make that themselves for the kids. Just have a star with their name on it. That'll make them happy. We don't have to go too crazy with decorations. It's important for them to be in the school, like Mike said. It's sentimental. So.
Hey, thanks, Katie. I appreciate it. Any comments on my proposal with doing it at the end of the month, end of August? Any comments that we want to bring up before we bring this to a close at an hour and 20 minutes? Okay. Again,
sorry. So
go
we
ahead.
will be voting at the next meeting. Is that the?
I think that's the right answer. Does anybody think otherwise?
No, I think that sounds good. I don't know if like having people sign up to the Sign Up Genius is the best way to gauge their interest. That's what
Any
the
other
point I was
suggestions
trying to
on a
make.
better way?
Well, if they show up, you maybe show up
Yep.
to the meeting
Yep.
and then decide, or just, maybe just, I know there was something that says general volunteer, just say sign up for that one. Cause I know I looked at it and I was like, I don't want to check any of these. I don't want to screw this up. Yeah.
Yeah, so the only concern I have with that though is we absolutely will need people to run this auction. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
absolutely. But I'm saying this general interest for the parents like me who are new for this is their oldest kid, just to say what it is. But when you only see that and I see the auction thing, like honestly, yeah, I could do it, but I want someone else with me to say, hey, I'll do it too. And it's in isolation, it's just a little tricky
Yeah, and
to gauge it
in the
that way.
years
That's my
past,
feedback. That's just my feedback.
yeah, in the years past, like typically friends do it. Like I did it with a friend, right? Like we roped each other into it, and then we were the chairs of the auction group. So like that's typically like it's not from what I've seen in the 5 years I've been involved, it's people that
I guess I need
are
more
friends.
friends. Gotta make more friends.
Well, I'm just saying, like, so it wouldn't be like this scary thing that you go
No,
into,
I
like
know,
you're
but when I'm
heading on
saying it
into it with
right
someone you
now,
know.
if
Yeah.
we're trying to gauge the interest by what's on there right now, my perspective is it's a little bit of there could be a more less intimidating way to do it. That's all.
I was just going to say that I agree. The Sign Up Genius, the way it's set up now, is a little intimidating when you first look at it, especially if you're a new parent to the school. There are just so many options. And if it was just a little simplified, you might see more people sign up.
Yeah. But I hear you, Joanne, and that's a good point. And I don't want to intimidate people, but we need need to fill those slots. But I'm with you. Open up that general volunteer thing and maybe put that at the
Yes.
top of the list as well, instead of at the bottom to try to get to make it less intimidating. And again, if anybody has any suggestions, please email me or reach out to anybody on the board on how to do better than Sign Up Genius, communicate better, whatnot, get the word out prior to this 27 August meeting. I'd appreciate that.
And I also just want to point out that the auction needs to be done regardless, whether
Exactly.
it's in or
Yep.
out. So that
Without a doubt. But also, yeah, exactly. Anything else? Anybody else? Again, thank you for an hour and a half of your time tonight, and thanks for your love and support for your kids and trying to. I think we all want to get to the same thing: is hey, give a great night to our kids, to graduating seniors that is memorable, is safe, is fun, substance free, and they can walk away and with a good feeling. So, thanks a lot for all you do, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a month, if not sooner. Thanks.
Bye, thanks.